Well, good evening, sports fans, and welcome to the Epic Sports Broadcasting Network for this week's recap of the Historical Baseball Project for 1993. My name is Dave Little, and we are recording from the Dave Cave with action from the 1993 Cincinnati Reds and the Texas Rangers as part of the Historical Baseball Project. And this week we cover games through the end of July, July the 16th through the 31st. And we will start by taking us to the beginning of the week before the homestands. And we will look first at the American League. Things have changed a bit since last week when we played the first 2 weeks of July. In the West, the Chicago White Sox have opened up a 6-game lead over Kansas City and California. And our beloved Texas Rangers are just hanging on to the periphery of the race at 44 and 45. As you'll recall, Chicago actually won the American League West in 1993 by 8 games over Kansas City, so the pace is just about right for those two teams. In the East, there are 4 teams above the 500 mark. The New York Yankees are on top, followed closely by Baltimore and Toronto. It was the Toronto Blue Jays in 1993 who won the division, but they are in a dogfight this year with the Yankees, the Orioles, and trailing close behind the Detroit Tigers and the Cleveland Indians. So big dogfight on top of the East. The outstanding players in the American League, Ken Griffey Jr. still leads the league in home runs with 37 and in RBI with 90, although his batting average has dropped out of the top 6. John Olerud comes into the league lead with a .356 batting average, drawing even with Harold Baines. Baines was up close to the 400 mark through the end of July, and he has regressed to the mean a good bit. Got 3 pitchers in the American League with 13-plus wins, including Kevin Appier, 13 wins and an ERA of 2.47 to lead the league. He's probably the front runner for the Cy Young Award at this point. You've also got Jimmy Key at 13 wins for the Yankees and a 2.96 ERA. And among the saves leaders, we've got our own Tom Henke with 18, trailing a bunch of guys, including the league leader, Chicago's Roberto Hernandez, with 23. When we take a look at the Rangers' individual statistics, we can see that, once again, Juan Gonzalez is still on top of the world. 34 home runs, good for third in the league, 68 RBIs. Also, we've got Rafael Palmeiro, 69 RBIs to go with 21 homers and a fine .303 batting average. And Dean Palmer, also putting up good power numbers, 68 RBI to go with 24 home runs and only a .246 batting average. Rob Ducey is seeing some time this month as a backup and doing well. David Hulse also having a nice consistent season, batting .310 as a center fielder. The Rangers pitching staff, not much going on here that we aren't already aware of. Kevin Brown has finally gotten his ERA below 5, but he still stands at 7 wins against 11 losses. Roger Pavlik still having that nice year, 8-5, 4.42. Kenny Rogers, Charlie Leibrandt still up in the stratosphere. Nolan Ryan has gotten a few starts, including a perfect game earlier in the season, and he sits at 4-3 with a nice 2.65 ERA. And, of course, Henke out of the bullpen, 3.53, not the greatest ERA, but those 18 saves. Looking at the National League, the Atlanta Braves have opened up a 6.5-game lead in the NL West over the San Francisco Giants. And if you recall back to 1993, those two teams went neck and neck all the way to the wire, with Atlanta winning the division with 104 wins and San Francisco with 103 wins, coming up just short. Our beloved Reds are below 500, along with some other also-rans in the West, as it has turned into a 2-team race. In the East, Philadelphia has opened up some distance, 4.5 games over Montreal, 5 games over the Chicago Cubs. It was the Phillies and Expos who finished 1-2 in the NL East in the 1993 regular season. Take a look at Phil Plantier, still leading the league with 34 home runs. Barry Bonds is off the pace with 28, but 81 RBIs. Matt Williams of the Giants leads the league with 86 RBIs as the Giants are banging the ball around Candlestick Park and putting up some big offensive numbers as they try and chase down Atlanta. But you look at the Atlanta pitching. 3 guys in the top 5 in ERA. Greg Maddux, John Smoltz, Steve Avery, all under 2.77. And Glavine, Avery, and Smoltz all in the top 6 in wins. Mike Morgan with 11 wins. We'll see him this week as the Cubbies visit Riverfront Stadium. Randy Myers, your league save leader, will also see him in Riverfront this coming week. And our own Jeff Reardon has 16 saves. Glavine, 14-4, leads the league, 3.02 ERA, is having a stellar year along with his Atlanta pitching mates. The Cincinnati Reds, statistically, Kevin Mitchell is getting a rest in the month of July as he has been riding high on his at-bat limits. Still leads the team with a 376 batting average. Reggie Sanders is putting up some big power numbers, 15 home runs, 56 RBIs. Chris Sabo, 11 and 54. Both of them in the 260, 280 range. Not doing bad, but no All-Stars, no MVP candidates among the Reds. And the pitching staff, of course, remains enigmatic for this team. Jose Rijo has a nice 3.19 ERA, but only 8-6 by way of a record. Tim Pugh exceeding expectations as the second starter, 8-3 with a 3.91. Tim Belcher still with a nice ERA, but has fallen below 500 in his winning percentage. Tom Browning, John Smiley doing very poorly. And Jeff Reardon, despite having the 16 saves, comes in with a 3-6 record and a 5.45 ERA. So the Reds aren't looking at any Cy Young winners there. So let's take you to games of the week for the homestands for the latter half of July, the 16th through the 31st in the 1993 season. And we will start with Texas. Texas had a 10-game homestand to wrap up July, starting with a 4-game set against the Detroit Tigers. On July 15th, the homestand began with another mediocre performance by Kenny Rogers and another Rangers defeat, as the Tigers pecked away at Rogers for 4 runs over 6 innings, and then added a couple of insurance runs against the Texas bullpen to take home the comfortable 6-1 victory. Travis Fryman and Mickey Tettleton each with 2 home runs and 2 RBI for the Rangers. The only Rangers offense came from Juan Gonzalez, who picked up home run number 35 on the season. Texas would get on to the winning side of the ledger on July 16th, behind 3 hits apiece from Rafael Palmeiro and Pudge Rodriguez. It was Palmeiro's 2-run double in the 6th inning that broke open a close game and gave Roger Pavlik his 9th win of the season as the Rangers picked up the 8-4 victory. The July 17th and 18th saw the conclusion of the Tigers and Rangers series. On the 17th, the Rangers picked up the 4-3 win on a walk-off 2-run homer by Rob Ducey with 2 outs in the 9th inning. Dramatic win. The game was a pitcher's duel between Nolan Ryan and Detroit's John Doherty through 6 innings. Ryan held the Tigers to 4 runs through 6, but walked 7 men and left the game trailing 3-2. Doherty appeared to be heading for the win as Ducey came to the plate representing the final out, but Ducey found a pitch to his liking and drove it into the right field seats to send the Texas fans home happy. And on July 18th, it was a good pitcher's duel between David Wells and Charlie Leibrandt. Wells outdueled Leibrandt to give the Tigers the split of the 4-game series. Both teams had scoring opportunities, but Detroit was able to convert on 7th-inning RBI doubles by Tony Phillips and Travis Fryman to push ahead the go-ahead runs and boost Wells to his 12th win of the season. Mike Henneman came on in the ninth to pick up his 16th save. Then the Milwaukee Brewers came for a two-game set on July 19th and 20th. And the 19th saw another putrid performance by Kevin Brown as he coughed up 5 runs in the third inning against the last-place Brewers, including a 2-out, 3-run bomb to Greg Vaughn. And the outcome of this one was never really in question. Ricky Bones shut down Texas on 6 hits over 8 1/3 innings and struck out 6 for Milwaukee. But the second game of the two-game set went to the Rangers, 5-4 in 10 innings. Another walk-off victory. This time it was heroics from Julio Franco with a walk-off RBI single in the 10th to give the Rangers the series split after a nip-and-tuck ball game. This game was started by Kenny Rogers for Texas, and characteristically he fell behind 3-0 after 3 innings. But Texas struck back for 2 in the bottom of the third and another in the fourth to tie the game at 3. Juan Gonzalez homered again for Texas in the 6th to put the Rangers ahead briefly. But an RBI double by Pat Listash in the 7th tied the game at 4 and sent Rogers packing. Cal Eldred started for the Brewers and went all the way into the 10th, giving up the game winner to Franco to take the defeat as the Brewers and Rangers split a pair. Finally, the end of the month saw the Toronto Blue Jays come to town to take on the Rangers in another 4-game set. And on July 22nd, it was the Blue Jays jumping all over Craig Lefferts for 10 hits and 10 runs in 3+ innings of work. A pair of 3-run homers by Joe Carter paced the onslaught as the Blue Jays went up 6-0 and never looked back. All the Rangers' offense came by way of home runs as Rafael Palmeiro hit a grand slam, and Juan Gonzalez added a pair of solo home runs, but it was too little and too late to overcome the deficit. The Rangers struck back on July 23rd as Nolan Ryan brought Texas back from the opening defeat, delivering 8 1/3 innings for the win. In the very first inning, Ed Sprague doubled home 2 runs for Toronto, but then Ryan settled down and held the Jays scoreless until the 9th. Texas struck back immediately, tying the game in the bottom of the first on a single by Pudge Rodriguez. Then Texas took the lead in the second when Mario Diaz tripled and scored the go-ahead run on an RBI groundout. Ryan outdueled Todd Stottlemyre into the 9th before turning it over to Tom Hickey, who picked up save number 20. Last 2 games of the month against the Blue Jays. The Rangers picked up another walk-off win in the bottom of the 10th as Charlie Leibrandt and Dave Stewart battled it out in a classic pitcher's duel. Both teams were hitless until the 5th, and the game was scoreless until each team put up a single run in the 6th. Toronto put runners on base in the 8th and 9th innings, but the Texas bullpen rose to the occasion, and the game remained tied at 1 heading into the 10th. After Texas reliever Matt Whiteside retired the Jays in the top of the 10th, Doug Strange walked with 1 out in the bottom of the inning, moved to third on a double by David Hulse, and dashed home on a ground out by Mario Diaz, just beating the tag to score the game winner and give the Rangers the 2-1 extra inning win. The final game of the month was July 25th, and it was shoddy defense that cost the Rangers this game in the finale of the homestand. The Rangers led 4-2 with 2 out in the 9th when Manny Lee threw away a potential game-winning ground ball, allowing 2 unearned runs to score, costing Texas the lead. Another 2-base error in the 14th inning, this time by Dean Palmer, set up Toronto for the go-ahead run to give the Blue Jays the series split. Kevin Brown on this night deserved better after outdueling Jack Morris for 8 innings and handing it over to Tom Hickey, who was victimized by the errors, costing him the blown save after a fine performance by Kevin Brown. So that was it for the Rangers in the end of July. Their homestand was 10 games, and they split 5-5. They had 3 series and split every one of those series right down the middle. Now let us take a look at the Reds performance for July 16th through the 31st. The Reds started off with a 4-game set against the Florida Marlins, and in Game 1, the Reds started the homestand with a bang. Cincinnati scored 5 runs in the first and 6 more in the second, and John Smiley coasted for the complete game victory. Juan Samuel blasted a grand slam. Joe Oliver hit a 3-run shot to spark the early onslaught and give the Reds the runaway victory. The Marlins struck back on July 16th behind Pat Rapp, who threw a 4-hitter. Orestes de Estrada homered twice for Florida and drove in 4 as Florida pinned the loss on Jose Rijo. It was a 3-run shot by de Estrada in the 5th inning that put Florida in the driver's seat and broke open a close game. Moving now to July 17th and 18th. On the 17th, the Marlins picked up another victory, 4-2. The Reds and Marlins battled into the night until Florida pushed home 2 runs in the top of the ninth to break the tie and pull out the victory on a base hit by Jeff Conine that drove home the 2 game winners in the ninth and was his 3rd hit of the night. On July 18th, it was the Cincinnati kid Larry Lubers with a complete game shutout to give Cincinnati the series split. Lubers only allowed 1 hit and did not allow a man past second base in his masterpiece, walking 3, striking out 3. Hal Morris with a home run and 2 runs scored for the Reds in their win on July 18th as the Reds gained the split. Finally, it was the Chicago Cubs coming to town for the 19th, 20th, and 21st. And another shutout for the Reds in Game 1 of that series. It was Tim Belcher who turned the trick against the Cubs in the opening game, shutting down Chicago on 4 hits in a gem requiring only 95 pitches. Chris Sabo homered twice and drove in 3, and Belcher himself went 2 for 4 at the plate and scored a run. The Reds put up single runs in the first 4 innings to establish the lead, and Belcher did the rest. On July 20th, it was Chicago's turn at a pitching gem, and it was Mike Morgan who provided the heroics for the Cubbies. After he yielded 1 run in the first, Morgan shut down Cincinnati the rest of the way, allowing only 6 hits while striking out 4. Big night at the plate for Mark Grace for the Cubbies, going 4 for 5 and scoring 4 runs for the victorious Cubs. And in the series finale on July 21st, it was Kevin Mitchell coming off the bench for a pinch hit 3-run homer in the 8th inning to give Cincinnati a come-from-behind victory in the series finale and a winning homestand. Reds go 4-3 on the homestand. Greg Hibbard and Jose Rijo dueled into the 8th inning of this one, with Hibbard holding a 2-0 lead. But Hibbard opened the 9th by walking opened the 8th by walking Samuel, and Chicago went to Randy Myers. Chris Sabo greeted Myers with a double, putting men at second and third for the dramatic blast by Mitchell that gave the Reds the 3-2 lead. Randy Milligan later in the inning added a 2-run shot to make it 5-2, and Jeff Reardon came on to close it in the 9th. So that wraps up the action for this week in the Reds and Rangers series to end up the month of July. Texas finishes their homestand with a record of 49-50, which is 1 game behind their 1993 regular season pace. The Reds finish their July homestand at 48-50, which is 2 games behind their 1993 pace. So both teams right around 500, both teams right around their 1993 season records. Got a busy week coming up this week as we play the games of August the 1st through 15th. 10 games for both teams. Texas plays host to the division-leading Chicago White Sox for a 4-game set, followed by a 3-game series against the Seattle Mariners and the California Angels. Cincinnati plays host to the San Diego Padres for a 3-game set, followed by 4 against Colorado and 3 more later in the week against the high-flying pitching of the Atlanta Braves. So that is it for this week in History Maker the this week in the Historical Baseball Project. Thank you for checking out this highlights recap. That's our stream, and I am out of here.